All right. Hello, everyone. We are back. Now, HTML templates. Um, so, as I've mentioned, um, in order to get the appropriate HTML um, structure at the end of everything, uh, you need to understand how the templates interact and how they nest inside one another. So, for example, let's take the topic list. So, first you have your wrapper, and inside your wrapper you have the board tag. Now, that board tag is going to let me know if my microphone is popping. Inside that board tag, on the topic list page, is going to be the topic list headers template, and inside the topic list headers template are your topic rows. They are split into announcements and topic rows in terms of variables, or in terms of embed items, variables, I don't know. So that on some skins you might not want to show the announcements. You know, if you have a forum specific skin and you don't want to have the announcements on that forum, you can take that announcement tag out. It's not required. Of course, if you take that announcements tag out on your main skin and you pin a thread as an announcement, that thread will vanish. It will not appear anywhere. Even on the forum that it was originally created in, it will then be part of the announcements section rather than part of the topics rows section. So just be aware of that. If you ever have anything go weird, things vanishing, quick edit not working, announcements not showing up, all that kind of thing, the first thing you want to do is switch to the Jcink default skin and see whether the problem is also on that skin. If it is not, then there's a problem with your skin. If you have already deleted the Jcink default skin from your board, you can re-import it from the import skins button over here under skins and templates. And you can set it to hidden, which means that your users won't be able to switch to it. But as the root administrator, you can always switch to all of your skins. More commonly, what you may want to do is wrap the announcements in a div and wrap the topic rows in a different div, and then you can put more space between them, style them differently, etc. However, when those sections expand into their actual HTML content, both of them will use the same topic rows HTML template. And just while we're here on HTML templates, if you ever aren't sure what variables are available for a specific template, or if you are not sure why you've put in a variable that you're pretty sure is supposed to work and it's not working and you're not sure why, up here where it says template name, topic list headers, right? This is always the name of the template. It is actually a link. If you click here, you will get the documentation for that specific template. It will give you all of your variables. It'll give you the sections of other templates or other content that you can include. And there's a link to the default HTML template, which is not actually 100% accurate to what the default HTML is for a template. Some of them have been tweaked since the documentation was written again. But for example, if you ever have a blank HTML template, it's using that default HTML. And if you're happy with that, but you want to add a code that says, add this code to your topic list headers, if you add it to a blank template, it will get rid of the default, like it will stop showing anything. So in those cases, you'd go to the default HTML template, copy that over into your blank template, so that it's no longer blank, but it will look like the default. It'll still look and act like the default, and then you can add whatever other codes you want to that. However, so your announcements and topic rows are here. They're going to expand into whatever is in your topic rows template. The default for both the topic list headers and the topic list rows is a table layout. So if we go to default HTML template, you will see that it has the table and then the headers for each of the table, and then the announcements and topic rows, and then the table closes after that. So if you customize your topic rows to something that's not a table, div layout, whatever, but you don't customize your topic list headers, you're going to end up with a weird situation where it displays all your rows and then the column headers at the bottom. Because divs do not belong in tables. You can put them inside of a table cell, but they will not behave like table rows, and they will get kicked out of the table. And usually they get kicked out above the table, but that's not guaranteed. There's nothing in the specification for it. Browsers can do whatever they want. They're just not allowed to have them in the table. So anything that is in the table is going to get kicked out. So make sure that when you have these elements where you have one HTML template inside of another HTML template, they're match in terms of whether they're using a table layout or not, in terms of if there's supposed to be a wrapping element around all of the rows, that it is in fact around all of the rows, and not around each individual row, that sort of thing. Mod form end is required in order to actually do anything with the little checkbox things for the moderator and sort options. If you're using my code, I tell you to get rid of this one. You will still need this one. I think there are some more variables that you can stick in here. The forum ID, if you want to give it, if you want to have them display differently in different forums, instead of using forum-specific things, you can use the forum ID as a class or as an ID because you know it's unique. The topic list headers is not repeated. This template is used once on the page, so you can use IDs in here, no problem. If we go back here and we go to the topic rows, this template is repeated once for every topic row on the page. Obviously, this is a single topic row. You're going to have multiple on the page. Therefore, if you put any IDs on here, they will be repeated, and that will make your JavaScript break. potentially. Probably. In weird ways that are not necessarily obvious. Now, the topic ID, you're never going to have the same topic repeated multiple times unless you've like accidentally duplicated your entire row inside here. But you only get one of these rows per topic. So your topic ID is always going to be unique on the page. So you could have an ID that was like topic row dash TID variable, and that would be unique. You cannot have an ID or a class that starts with a number, which is why you will see all of these ID-based classes and IDs as, act dash G dash group ID, T dash group topic ID, etc. IDs cannot have a space inside of them. Individual classes cannot have a space inside of them, but you can have multiple classes assigned to the same element with, separated by spaces. So I have topic row, and then I have type, which is almost always topic normal. You don't actually need that, as far as I can tell, because it is always topic normal. Might be different if it's like a pending moderation. I don't know. I don't use moderation a lot. But it's still topic normal even for like announcements, which I thought it would change on, but whatever. Just pick topic row. Oh no, the type here does change. So this type will tell you whether it's an announcement or a pinned topic or whatever. The one on the post row doesn't change. Like it is always post normal. Weird, but there you go. Play around with some of these variables, find out what they do. But yeah. So if I have topic row class and its announcement, then anything that I say, any rules that I say, okay, apply this to topic row, it'll apply it. Anything that I say, apply it to announcements, it'll apply it, as long as it matches one or the other. And when I go into some of the CSS topics, I'll talk about how to make it only apply if it has both classes, or if it has two classes and each of those classes has a rule and they conflict with each other. How does the browser pick which one to display? We'll go into that. But in terms of your HTML structure, you can have multiple classes on an object. Classes don't have to be unique throughout the page. You can only have one ID. It has to be unique on the entire page after all your templates and everything is mushed together. So that's basically your templates. And if you go onto a validator, it'll find most of these issues. The main thing is just to kind of keep track of in your head when you're doing these things. Is it repeated on the page? And how does that affect my HTML code? And where are they nested within each other? And how does that affect my HTML code and the final result of the HTML code? Web pages. Web pages are fun. I have a lot of them. When you create a web page, there's web pages get fancy. Web pages can be really simple. Web pages can get really fancy. First off, turn web pages online. Has to be on in order for you to use web pages. I don't know why this is even an option. If I'm creating web pages, I would assume that I want them to be online, but maybe you want to turn them off temporarily and just like cancel them all out temporarily for testing purposes or something. So that's there. Enable include keys for board wrappers. If you want to use your templates as sort of custom HTML templates for your wrapper to embed in your wrapper, you need to have this turned on. Again, not sure exactly why it's its own setting, because there's a per page setting for it too. But I guess for testing or whatever, you can turn them all off in one go. But for the most part, leave it yes. First thing I do when I create a new board is turn both of these things to yes. If you end up not using anything in the board wrapper, that's cool. This one is fun. This one will, on the surface, does what it says. If you have a page that you're just using as an include on the board wrapper, this will prevent people from getting to it directly and only seeing, part of your web page or whatever. If you have JavaScript in the HTML that's supposed to be embedded in your wrapper, it may be a good idea, because that'll stop, if you try and load the page directly, it'll load the page as part of the wrapper, and it'll load the page as the board content because you've asked it to load the page. So if you have JavaScript or something, that JavaScript will run twice. Sometimes that's a problem. Usually it's a convenience thing. You're not going to be, linking to these pages if you're using them as embeds, probably. So, people aren't going to just find them. However, if you do have something, the for non-admins part of this does give you some options. If you have a web page that has information that you want your mods to have, and has information that you do not want your non-mods to have, or your non-admins. So this is your root admin account, right? My administration page, you have to log into that page specifically with a root admin account, so it doesn't really matter if someone else stumbles over it. But you may have like a board that, like a page that you're using to keep notes for yourself that you don't even want your other mods to see. You may have a page that's compiling information from a whole bunch of other threads for to help you generate leaderboards, or to help you generate for your activity checks or whatever, and you don't want everybody just going to that page even if they have the link somehow. You can turn this on. You can tell the page itself that it's a board wrapper include, and just, not use it as a board wrapper include. And then that page can only be accessed by your admin account. And then set web pages homepage for forum. If you want to use a web page rather than the board index or the portal as your root homepage, if they just go to your domain name. Won't be talking about that. It's basically the same as going to a page with a page thing, but it's the default. You can get back to your board index with act equals IDX. When you go and create the web page, you give it a title. you give it an include key. This include key is the key that you use to include it in your wrapper if you want to do that. You can also use it to include it in another web page. This makes it really nice for guidebooks and things, so that you can have multiple guidebook pages that you, and then not repeat the navigation part of it on every single page, and then you have to edit every single page if you want to add a page, whatever. You can just have the navigation as its own web page and include it on every guidebook page. Or alternately, if you have a tab-based guidebook, you can still have each section as its own web page, so you're not trying to edit something that's 3 miles long every time you want to change your guidebook, make an edit to your guidebook. And then each of those sections is just included in the main guidebook page inside of its sort of wherever it belongs in the tab layout. So both of those things are done with include key. The other even if you're not using it as an include, you still want an include key. That allows people to access it by the page name. So for example, my member directory, obviously I'm not including that in the wrapper, but I gave it an include key so that it can be accessed by, and if you click on the link, actually it'll show you. So this is accessed by act equals pages and KID equals directory, instead of act equals pages and PID equals 80. If you're just clicking on links in the website, it doesn't really matter, but it just gives it like a friendly URL. You can remember it better, they can remember it better if someone wants to type it in directly. If someone starts typing into their browser and it, gives them autofill suggestions for the URL, they'll be able to see which page they're picking, that kind of thing. Minor convenience, but slight convenience, and you can keep track of things that way. So again, because you can nest things inside of each other, you want to make sure that you are taking that into account when you're structuring your HTML. So don't nest divs directly inside of a table tag. They can go into a table cell, but they can't go into the actual table tag outside of the table rows and things. Don't repeat IDs on web pages that are going to end up merged together. Things like that. And make sure that all your tags are closed. This applies to your web pages. This applies to your HTML templates. And this applies to your wrapper, of course, by itself, but it's kind of easier to see there. A lot of times you'll have cases where you're looking at your thread with the post rows going down the page, or you're looking at your forum page with the thread list, or you're looking at your guidebook and you've got a bunch of web pages jumbled up together, and it's like, well, the first forum row looks fine, and then after that they're all messed up. The first topic row looks fine, and then after that they're all messed up. Probably you have poorly nested or unclosed HTML tags somewhere. also, when you are keeping in mind how your stuff is nested together, don't forget your macros. If you have table-based templates, I think I'm using table-based templates on this one. So I'm using table-based templates for my topic list. Basically something very similar to the default template. So for my topic list subheader, I have to make it a table-based thing, which breaks your macros page when it tries to preview it, but that's okay. So if I edit this, you can see that my topic list subheader that's going to divide my my announcements from my regular topic list is a table row. And that's why it's doing this, because this is also a table. Macros page looks funky, but I still have my edit button, it's down here. After that, things get sorted out again. But this is making it behave properly on the actual page itself. If I just had this in a div, it would look right here, but it would not look right on my site. So that's something to keep in mind there. And then, since I'm on this macros page anyways, tiny little pro tip here is use your mobile logo. Even if you don't need an actual image logo, use your mobile logo to put in all of your fonts. Your font icons, your custom fonts. Jcink mobile mode will use your style sheet. It will not load your wrapper. If your style sheet depends on something in your wrapper, like an external font or a font icon set, that will be broken in mobile mode. If you put those required links in the mobile logo, they will work in mobile mode. As a bonus, they will work on this macros page. So for example, this hot topic, without the CSS files here, I'm also using a custom font for my Unicode things. This all looks funny. As soon as I load the macro, as soon as I load those fonts and everything in this mobile logo, and it's previewing that with those links, now I can actually see what my macros look like. And don't forget to close your HTML tags. I keep making this mistake myself, so it's not just you, promise. Especially when you're like copy pasting between different macros. It's really easy to like miss something. So also, if you go on your validator and it says there are 16 billion errors and we're going to stop parsing your page because we can't keep track of them all, it's probably the first place you should look is in those templates that repeat throughout the page, because it's probably in there. I think that's most of what I wanted to